Here we go, part 3 of Aunt Winnie's keto diet. This one is pretty cool. It is a chicken BLT salad, yummy. And I even made some chocolate fudge, so if you're into that, sit back and check this out. So the first thing we're going to need is some chicken, obviously, for our chicken salad. Got 4 breasts, put a little poultry seasoning on them, give them a little bit of a flavor. A little pepper. Little salt. Spice her up however you want. And I did both sides. So we're going to fry this up now into our frying pan. I got just a little bit of grease in the bottom there. And in they go. Oh, you want to make sure that they're fully cooked. Doesn't take a whole lot of time. Just watch them. If they're all the same size, they should be ready about the same time. If they're a little bigger, I had one that was just a little bigger. Took a little longer. They're looking yummy. I think 3 of our 4 are done. We'll let the other one stay on for just a little bit longer. Meanwhile, to our bacon. Of course, chicken BLT needs bacon. But we're going to cook this up in the oven. I've got baking sheets lined with parchment paper. And we're going to carefully pull off each of the strips of bacon. And they're not cooked, so they are going to take up a little bit of space. So I had to use 2 because they're not the biggest of baking sheets. And yeah, they're going to shrink. Into the oven they go, 425. You're going to want to watch them about halfway through. Flip them if you like, and they'll come out nice. Now into our pan, because I'm going to my sister's, we're going to put the lettuce. So you don't mix it ahead of time. So here's our lettuce. This should be enough for 5 or 6 people. Obviously, if you don't have as many people, don't put as much in. That was 2 heads of romaine lettuce too, by the way. Along with the B and the L comes the T, the tomato. I've got some cherry tomatoes. I'm going to chop them up. Not super small, but small enough. You want to keep them whole, go ahead. You could do that. I was thinking more like sandwiches. You don't put whole tomatoes on sandwiches. They're all slices. And this is 1 container, so obviously if you're going smaller, you dummy it down to a half a package or a quarter package if you're making a real small salad. There it is. It's close to 2 cups, about 1.5 cups. Now here's our chicken. I've let it cool down so I could at least handle it. We're going to cut it into strips and then chunks. If you want to do strips, go ahead. That'll still work. I just did it into chunks. And there's lots there, because when you're doing keto, you eat a lot of meat. Unless you're a vegetarian, in which case you couldn't. But in this case, look at, there's 4 breasts. That's lots. But here's our bacon out of the oven. Looks good. Not super crispy. I didn't make it that way. You want to keep it in the oven a little longer. It'll get super crispy, but we're going to let this cool off a little bit before we cut it up. And that we will do into chunks. Big or small, your choice, of course. I wanted bite-sized pieces, but if you want bigger, go ahead. And it's amazing how little you get out of a pound of bacon. You start out with a lot and you end up with a handful. But that's okay. So here's our dressing. It's super simple. Of course, I had to use the end of my container and go to another one. That is roughly 3/4 cup of mayo and a good teaspoon of garlic powder. That's it. Mix it together. Use it sparingly, of course, on your salad. A little bit of pepper for taste too. That's half a teaspoon. And that's optional, of course. You don't necessarily have to. If you like it, throw it in. I will give this all a nice stir, make sure it's all combined. And I decided, because I'm transporting it, into a container it goes. So here's how you put her together. You got your salad, your lettuce. Tomatoes are next. Followed by that crumbly bacon that we had. And I'm even crumbling it a little more. Just because I wanted to. There you go. And of course, next up is the chicken. And, you know, if you really want to get fancy, I didn't do it because it's not keto. You could put some croutons in there if you're for your non-keto people. Put them on the side for those of us that aren't on keto. A little bit of dressing on top. And if you want to mix it all together, there you go. One salad. Next up is fudge. So that is supposed to be a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. I think it's more like 1/3 of a cup. And to it, our sweetener is stevia. You can have any sweetener you like. Calls for 2 to 3 tablespoons. I put in roughly 2.5 tablespoons, I think, of the sweetener. Then you mix it all together. Well, next up, we're going to throw in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. My daughter always said if it calls for 1 teaspoon, put in an extra one. It's not going to hurt it any, and it doesn't. So now into our measuring mug. Right there, what you see is coconut oil. It's kind of lumpy and smooth at the same time. It's got the consistency of lard or really cold butter. So a little bit of a job to get it out of the container. Managed. And this is about 1/2 cup of the coconut oil. In retrospect, I probably would have thrown it in the microwave and nuked it for a minute just to get it liquidy. Now this other container is almond butter. Now this has the consistency of runny peanut butter. Kind of interesting. So rather than waste another measuring mug, since I needed 1/2 of each, that's easy to figure out. We'll just put 1/2 cup of the almond butter on top of the coconut oil. Of course, if I would have melted down the coconut oil, it might have not quite measured out so nice, but that's for another day to figure out. So now let's get this into our cocoa mix. And of course, once we do that, then we got to combine them all. And that's where it gets a little tricky. It's not hard. And this is where I started thinking that the lumpy coconut oil might have been a little easier to work with if it was melty. But we managed. It was okay. You can see the cocoa powder's kind of spraying around because it still is a powder. And you just got to work with it until you get it all combined, all the powder combined with the oils. It's not a difficult process. It's just like anything, it takes a bit of time. Just have a little perseverance and you will get to the end product just like I did. So it's all thoroughly mixed. Into a pan, I've got some parchment paper. Honestly, now that I've done it, I could easily just put it on a plate. Get a round plate that's got edges on it. You don't even really need that because of the consistency. I mean, you could literally build it up into a brick if you wanted to. It doesn't really spread out that much. You know, when at the end here you'll see I had to work it with a spoon to kind of get it to spread out a bit. That lump you could pretty well leave like that and you're going to end up with a lump of fudge. Oh no, I was trying to see how much could I get from it. Now this is about the right mixture. This is actually a lot, and between the bunch of us, we did not finish that off. So this is going to go into a fridge, at least 3 hours. You want it nice and cool, preferably overnight if you can. And there you have it, keto fudge. Well, I hope that made you hungry, and I hope that's something you're going to try. Listen, if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, a like below. And if I haven't talked you into it yet, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll tell you the next time I upload a video. And I really hope you enjoyed this. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.